and welcome to my channel In Search of Wonder. My name is Anne and this is my weekly wrap up. So this is a bit of an unusual weekly wrap up for me because we went back to school this week after celebrating New Year's earlier in the week, and life just went by in such a blur. I didn't have time to make any clips or anything. So this is just going to be one quick-ish video, just updating you on the books that I have read this week and am in the process of reading, which is mostly what's going on here. I did finish a book. I finished The Mark of Distinction, which is the second book in the Price of Privilege trilogy. And I am almost done. I'm more than halfway done with the third book, so I'm almost done with the whole series. This is book 3, The Price of Privilege, which the whole trilogy is named after. The last book is titled that as well. And I am that close to the end. And I will finish it today. So by the time you are watching this and it goes live, I will be completely finished with this book. And what I'm thinking is, I've been thinking that I kind of want to do my wrap-ups maybe a little bit differently and save the books that I want to talk more about for a separate video, if that makes sense. Tell me your thoughts about that, because I'm pretty sure I'm going to do that with this one, because I have, you know, there's just so many things in my mind that I just want to talk about. And that happens, you know, with some books that they just require more discussion, you know, like there's just more to say about it, right? So I'm thinking that there are some books that I will just mention and give basic thoughts about in my weekly wrap up, but then spend some significant time in a separate video talking about them. So let me know your thoughts, what you think about that. Definitely going to do it with this one, because when I'm finished with this, the whole series is going to require its own discussion. So anyway, I am almost finished with this and I am enjoying it. On my, I guess this is my 4th read through, and I feel like I am picking up on details and things and layers that I had never noticed before, and kind of just really solidifying the themes and the ideas and the symbolism or whatever that's in the story. And yes, really enjoying it. I'm also, you know, as is wont to happen, I'm also picking up on things that maybe loose threads or things I felt perhaps could have been done better, or I would have done differently, or I'm like, maybe that wasn't necessary in this story. But all the same, it's still a solid 5-star read for me. And it's one of those books that it's one of a handful, like literally a handful, like maybe only 5 books, fiction books, that have so significantly impacted me. There's a lot of fiction that you read and it has a gentle influence on you in a way that, like, you don't even notice it. Ways that, you know, it sandpapers your thinking, or smooths the rough edges, influences you without you even noticing, in much the same way that the people in your life influence and rub against you many times without you even being aware of it. Which, side note, which is why it's really important to be careful what you read and to read it with attention so that you know what you're being influenced by. But anyway, there are a handful of books where their influence and their shaping was so strong that I saw it as it happened and I caught it. And those are books I can look back and say, wow, those really shaped my thinking, shaped my heart. And this series is one of them. And that's probably not going to be true for everybody, but for me, definitely, I will say that it is. And it's still doing that. even on my fourth read of it. I think because the truth that it conveys to me is a solid, unchanging truth. So it's not going to, that truth is not going to change. And it's powerfully told in the story. So I like it. Anyways, so I only spent 5 minutes talking about that. Come on, guys. That's like really good. Okay. It's really good. All right. So the other book that I have been working on, and am about a third-ish of the way through. Yeah, about the third way through, because there are 12 cantos and I'm on the fourth one. And it is Fierce Wars and Faithful Loves, which is book 1 of Edmund Spenser's The Faerie Queene. And I had never read this before. This is ticking off the box for the Tea and Ink Read Classics Challenge for reading a classic book you've never read before. And my son, as I mentioned this before, but in case you didn't know this, my son read this. He's in a freshman, what do they call it? A freshman advanced literature class. And they read this book, their first book this year, this school year. And I had made a goal of wanting to read with him all the books that he read that I have not yet read. And so I'm behind, as you can see. Part of it was just I didn't get to it. Part of it was I ordered the wrong book. And so then I had to wait for him to finish this one because I couldn't find, anyway. So now I'm finally reading it and he is about to go on to another book. So I need to get this one done so I can kind of stay on track with him. I have to say that even more delightful than the book itself, which is fine. It's enjoying the book itself in an intellectual sort of way. But what is even more delightful is reading after my son. So I actually think I might prefer to read the books after he's annotated them. It has been fun to read behind his annotations, and he is a funny guy. So his comments, especially on the footnotes, totally cracking me up. Speaking of the footnotes, this is, I think it's like an academic edition. I know it is. It's published by a classical academic press, and the editor was definitely had a student audience in mind for the most part. So a student, or someone who is interested in learning about Renaissance literature, etc. Or someone of a literary bent who wants to learn more and doesn't necessarily have the background to really read and understand and appreciate this kind of story. So The Faerie Queene was written by Edmund Spenser, and he was a contemporary of Shakespeare. So it's from that time. It is, as the editor of the book says, the language is slightly even more archaic than Shakespeare's language. So it's a little bit harder to get into the rhythm and flow of what he's trying to say. In this edition, they have adapted some words, and they definitely updated all the spellings, but mostly tried to stick to Edmund Spenser's original as much as it could be readable, is my understanding. I've never read the actual original. It has definitions of archaic words we don't use anymore, and there are footnotes explaining references to various things. There's a lot of mythology mentioned here and referenced in this story. So I'm thankful that there are footnotes explaining that, because I don't have a good background in mythology, unlike my children who are being classically educated, and I ask them, who was Perseus and what happened? Phoebus? I don't know who that is. I've slowly gathered some, general understanding of some of them along the way, but I don't have a solid foundation in mythology, and so which frustrates me a little bit, because so many books reference mythology, including The Price of Privilege, which I'm reading here. There's a lot of reference to various mythical gods and goddesses, whatever, and their situations in that story. So I'm thankful for the footnotes. Also, the editor was very humorous, so he makes it very approachable, and it's not condescending at all, and it's not super highbrow. commentary on it. It's funny, and but it's also insightful and helpful as you read it. So I have enjoyed reading it. And what's funny is my son, instead of like writing notes on the story itself, which he marks up certain things that he was supposed to be looking for in the story, but mostly his comments are like interacting with the editor. For example, on one of the earlier pages, the editor, he's writing the footnote, he's explaining something that's happening in the story, and then he says, "Don't worry, it gets more exciting." And my son writes, "Hopefully." And then there's a footnote where one of the characters in the story is, let's see, well, he's being lured away by a false woman, okay? And he's like the good guy in the story, and he's being lured away by a wicked woman. And the footnote is simply this: big uh-oh. And so my son writes, "Could you tell me more than that?" And then I will read you this passage. Like this language is hard to like work through. But it says, "When those accursed messengers of hell, that feigning dream and that fair forged sprite, came to their wicked master and gan tell their bootless pains and ill succeeding night," his footnote, my son's comment is, "they failed." So that is a fairly succinct translation of those 4 lines of poetry. And then it mentions Chanticleer. The poem mentions Chanticleer. And the footnote says, "You know, the rooster." And my son writes, "I don't know, actually." So anyways, I have been enjoying reading those and reading my son's footnotes. That's actually been the best part. The story itself is actually kind of engrossing. It's one of those books where like you pick it up because you feel like you want to, but you want to because, you know, the same reason you want to eat a salad, like, you know, it's good for you and you know it won't be painful, and it's better than other choices, right? It's not like something that I would read just because like, oh wow, that really interests me. But it is a very interesting, all the same, it's a very engrossing story and I'm enjoying it, and it's very graphic. So there is a scene in the beginning, very near the beginning, where the knight, who is the main character in the story, he is fighting this serpent who, well, it's half woman, half serpent, and she's supposed to be representing error, and he is supposed to be representing Christianity and holiness. And so he's fighting error, and he ends up defeating her, but that whole scene is just, ew. And then there are other scenes like he doesn't pull any punches or, you know, skirt around things. He just tells everything straight up the way it is. So that's been actually kind of, in a way, refreshing because you don't have to wonder. I mean, once you can decode the language, interpret the actual words, there's nothing mysterious about what he's saying. He's being straight up with it. So you don't have to wonder, you don't have to think, and you don't have to guess at the symbolism. It's pretty straight up, and you don't have to guess at what's happening in the story. Like he tells you exactly what happens. So I have been enjoying that about a third of the way through it, and have quite a bit left to go, but I'm kind of reading it on my lunch break at work when my mind is like fully functioning and alert and engaged, so I can really pay attention to it because it kind of needs a little bit of that. And then I also started Agatha Christie, but I'm only about 10% of the way through that one. Death on the Nile. They're still setting up the characters. The murder hasn't happened yet. They're setting up the characters and the possible suspects and kind of like getting everything in place. So, but this kind of took a backseat to the Price of Privilege trilogy and the other book that I have in progress that I am close to being finished, which may also be done by the time this goes live tomorrow morning, depending on how much housework I do today and how much reading. If nothing else, it will be done by tomorrow evening for sure. And that book is The Last Christmas in Paris by Hazel Gaynor, which I am reading a digital copy through the library. And I started it in December, but I could tell quickly, I was like, this is going to be too heavy for me. I don't want anything this heavy in December. So we're going to push this a little bit to December because I could tell it's very well written, very well written. 5% of the way through the story, I was already invested in the characters and I wanted to know what was going on, and I wanted to read more, but just not at that time. So I am reading it. I'm fully engrossed. Yesterday I got to probably about 75% of the way through the story, and maybe a little less than that, and just really enjoying it. So it's set in World War I, and it's an epistolary novel with some, it's sort of a dual timeline in that an older gentleman in the late 60s is looking back on his history during World War I and what happened then in his relationship that took place during that time. And so those sections are a narration. But then the actual story taking place in World War I, which is the bulk of the novel, is epistolary. And so it's letters primarily between a girl named Evie and a lieutenant in the British Army, Lieutenant Harding. And primarily it's their exchange. There are some other letters thrown in. She has a friend, Alice, that she writes also. And there's some other letters thrown in there, telegrams, to help move the story along so you can get a full picture of what's going on. The epistolary aspect is very well done for me. Not everybody loves epistolary novels, but I enjoy them. This one is very well done because I don't feel like you're really missing out on any more of the story than you would in, let's say, a first-person narration or something like that, which I also enjoy. And I feel like the letters don't seem like stilted and unnatural. It feels to me like they are, could have actually been written. It's not so wordy and so descriptive and so whatever. They're like, okay, nobody's going to write a letter like that. Maybe occasionally, but most of the time they seem very realistic as being letters, which can be a detraction in an epistolary novel. Like you'd be like, okay, nobody's going to actually write like that. So well done in that respect, in my opinion. It reminds me a lot of, I believe it was Things We Didn't Say, or The Lines Between, I think it was Things We Didn't Say by Amy Lynn Green, her first novel, which was strictly epistolary. And I enjoyed that one as well. And this gives me a lot of similar vibes to that one. Overall, I'm enjoying it. When I have completely finished it, I will add that to my wrap up next week and give a fuller overview of it. So those are the books I have in progress right now. 2 of them I'm going to be finished by the time you watch this. The other one is going to be The Fierce Wars and Faithful Love. It's going to be ongoing for another week or 2. And then The Death on the Nile, I will probably be finishing early next week. So after that, what shall I pick up? Good question. I need to read Hound of the Baskervilles for She and Tails Read Your Shelf Challenge. And that will definitely be a top priority for me. I also have my fiction and nonfiction choices that for my mood reading, I will probably choose one of those. I'll probably do maybe try a chapter tag for those to see which one I want to pick up. So that brings me to the end of my weekly wrap up. And thank you for joining me. If you have read any of these books, leave your thoughts in the comments, or if you have any comments about them. If you have any thoughts about if I should make separate videos with longer, deeper discussions about certain of the books that I read, let me know that in the comments as well. And let me know what you are reading and what you have started off your new year with. And I look forward to talking to you again next time. Bye. So after I made my last video clip with my update for the week, I thought I was done, but then I finished reading The Price of Privilege series, and I added it to my journal, and so I just wanted to share a little clip about that with you. And then I also forgot to share a little book haul that I got with after Christmas shopping, so that's coming right up. So I am working on updating my journal with books that I have read, and I saw an amazing idea at on Lovely Day with Holly's channel, where she printed out little book covers for all the books that she read or was planning to read, and she used them in her reading journal. So I love how she used them in her video. I'm using them in a slightly different way. This is my monthly pages where I put down the books I read for the month in bullet journal style. So I'm going to glue this picture here. Let's see. I wanted to leave space here, but I just wrote that there. Goodness gracious. So I don't know. I'm going to have to fiddle with that a little bit. But anyways, I'm going to put this one here. And then I'm also going to go ahead and put in here this one, which I'm not quite finished yet, but I will finish soon. Because yeah, since I filmed the last clip that you saw, I did indeed finish the Price of Privilege trilogy, and I'm updating my journal with it. Next, I'm going to finish this one. So I'm going to put the picture in first this time because I'm smart like that, and then go from there. So yeah, just wanted to show you that I have this whole pile that I'm going to put in an envelope and keep it in the back of my reading journal, like Holly did. So there we go. Okay, one more clip and then I promise I'm done. I bought from Christian Book. They had, christianbook.com had a sale at the end of the year, and I ordered a couple of books for super cheap. I think I spent like, I don't know, $15 for all of these? I'm not really sure. Super cheap. I'm not sure that I'm going to love all of them, but a couple of them I've been wanting to read and casually interested in for a long time. Actually, most of them I have. So, and one of them is an author I've wanted to read. So we'll see if I love them or not. I will eventually read all of them at some point, but they were super cheap, like $1.50, $2, whatever. So the first one is, oh yeah, we don't all need to see my laundry that I need to fold. Yeah, let's not look at that pretty picture. Let's look at something else. Okay. This is a kind of a devotional by Kyle Idleman. He wrote Not a Fan, which I really loved that book, nonfiction Christian book. This is a 60-day devotional, a challenge to see, serve, and celebrate the people around you. I'm thinking I will do that in the summer because I do, during the school year, I do a reading program, a Bible reading program that you read the whole Bible, and that's like 6 chapters a day, which I listen to on audio, but I don't have as much time to read like a devotion like this, so I think I will do that in the summer. And then I got The Enlightenment of Bees, which I feel like I have heard mixed reviews about this. I think one of the things I've heard that it's like, even though it's published by a Christian publishing company, it's not necessarily very Christian per se. So we'll see. It has been on my radar since it came out, and I'm curious just to see if I like it or not. This one has been on my TBR for a while. I've read 1 or 2 other books by this author that I liked, and I like historical fiction. This is sounded similar to another book that I really enjoyed, so we'll see. It kind of looks like something I would like. The next one I got is this. Now, this is part of a whole series, which I probably will not read because I think it's like kind of suspense or mystery, which is not my favorite thing. And it's a multi-author series. However, I have been wanting to try Grace Hitchcock. So I got this one because she wrote it. And then I got this one because, I don't know, somewhere somebody said something about this, or I read something about it that made me think it would interest me. And I put it on my TBR. But I've had trouble getting a copy of it. So I figured I'd finally check it out. If you guys know anything about that series, let me know. Tell me if you think I would like it or not. And then I got this, which I've heard so many people raving about, Tammy L. Gray. I've not read anything by her. She sounds like an author I really like, even though I don't generally gravitate to contemporary. But it sounds like the sort of book that I would really like to read, the sort of writing that would really enthrall me. So I am getting this one. Now, this one and Cross Lines are both book 2 in the series, and the book 1 in both series were not on sale, so I don't know what I'm going to do about that. I might read them first, maybe on the at the library, and see if I want to buy them and have the whole series, or I don't know. We'll see what happens. But anyway, I'm really excited about this one. This may be the first one that I tackle in this pile. And then finally, this is not fiction, but this is by Rachel McMillan, who is a Christian fiction author. And this is an adventure journal. I love to travel, and I do have at least one trip planned this year, so that is still in the planning stages. So I'm looking forward to using this. And it just has place to keep track of both practical things and things that are like memories about your trip. And you can use this journal for multiple trips, not just one trip, which is nice, because I like that that appeals to my practical side. Then you have like space for like scrapbooking sort of things if you want, like putting in tickets or whatever. So anyways, I like this little journal, and I'm mostly excited about traveling and filling it up. So that is my little book haul that I got from my after Christmas shopping. And now, ladies and gentlemen, truly, I am done.